A little bit. I mean, it's a $550 Benelli M4 copy. I can't have the world. I know my Stoker's of better quality than this. But for shit's sake, this is unacceptable. This is the kind of tier crap that you expect out of a $200 Chinese shotgun or some shit like that. Not $550. They're asking $649.99 MSRP for this thing. Fiocchi loads, and we're just going to see if it'll cycle. Clean up. Hang up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to American Arms Channel. I'm Drake, and today, as you can tell by the title of the video, we're taking a look at the Charles Daly 601 DPS. Now, if this looks like a Benelli M4, that's because it is a straight-up clone of the Benelli M4. This is a fairly inexpensive Turkish-produced clone of the Benelli M4. There are some idiosyncrasies with it that are not exactly Benelli clone-like. For example, there's polymer in places on this gun that are not there on the Benelli. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the trigger housing and the rear sight assembly are both polymer on the Charles Daly, where on the Benelli they are actually steel or aluminum construction. So there is that. The Argo gas system is the exact same. The stock is different, and the receiver extension tube that holds the action spring is also different. But other than that, you have a two-lug rotating bolt, semi-automatic Argo gas-driven system. Takes Benelli Beretta mobile choke system. The front sight is identical to the Benelli. It's a ear post. I will say though that there are some quality control issues on this gun. The top rail, it is made of polymer, and that wouldn't be too terrible of a deal, but it is slightly off center and tilted to the right, so when you put a tall optic like this EOTech on it, you can kind of tell. And the front sight post is tilted a couple degrees to the left. I noticed it a little bit in the shop, decided to buy it anyways because I thought this would be a fun range toy if nothing else, but the more I've had it, the more it's kind of annoyed me. So I'm going to talk to Charles Daly and Chiappa Firearms and see if they can replace that barrel for me and give me something that's a little bit more squared up, because honestly I can live with the optics rail being a little bit off, but the front sight post being a little bit off, I don't know. Right now we've got the Pattern Master Classic long range in it, just because I thought a ported choke would look cool in this. I have not shot it with the factory chokes yet, and you know what, I've only shot about 16 rounds through it. The first 5 were Winchester white box here, just the Super Target promotional load, and they cycled once or twice, but out of the 5, most of them didn't. But today we're going to take a look at a smorgasbord of loadings here. I don't have enough ammunition stockpiled to do a ammo gauntlet test like we did with the wife's SX4. But we do have enough here that we can burn through a bunch of different types. I've got some steel, I've got some buckshot, I've got some pheasant loads, some game loads, just a whole array of different stuff. So I'm going to call it out as I shoot it here, and we'll see how it sends them down range, if it's reliable at all. We're going to start off at the low end. Now, these are 1.8 ounce Super Target loads by Winchester, but they are only 1145 foot per second, so they are not the best. The Benelli SB3 Vinci, my wife's SX4, will cycle them, and we're going to put a 6 round in just to top it off. But this gun didn't like them earlier, but we'll see if after the pheasant loads I ran through it, maybe it'll start breaking in. But we'll revisit it if it doesn't want to get through all of these. Anyhow, let's just start putting them down range, I guess. Hot. Failure to feed. Could be a hull problem. All right, she's in battery. Nice, locked open. So that could have been a hull problem. We'll see. I do have 4 of these Rio 1280 foot per second ounce and eighths. I just grabbed those real quick. These should definitely cycle this gun. Let's see. Oh yeah, I saw some flame coming out of the action there. They definitely kicked out, not with as much vigor as a pheasant load, but they worked. Let's see here. I've got some Federal 1 ounce of steel shot here. And that one just took a dive on the ground. So let's put 3 rounds of the 1 ounce high velocity field steel shot. This is number 6's. Definitely runs those. Let's see here. Do I got a couple more? I'm dropping shot shells everywhere. Yeah, we got a couple more of the same thing. Let's give them a try. From the hip. Very nice. Worked just fine. All right, I got 3 Rio high base. These are blue steels. These are number 4 ounce and a quarter at 1400 feet per second. So these are a duck load. 3 of them here. Let's see. I will tell you what, that is some brutal recoil out of that. The Unitech's on for not having adjusted at all. I just screwed it onto the gun last night. So it's actually hitting right where I'm putting the circle of death. Next up, ounce and a quarter, number 1 steel. These are heavy shot branded heavy steel. Another duck load here. Seeing how those Rios were a little brutal, I'm just going to hold it firmly at the hip because, yeah, that kind of punched me in the shoulder. And I shoot the 10 gauge a lot, and a lot of Magnum stuff, but that was a little bit excessive. Oh, yeah. Pitching those, it almost is like it's over gassed, but about 25 yards, that pattern on the ground looked pretty tight with this pattern master. Definitely a lot of muzzle blast, and definitely could feel that one cycling. Let's see here, we got an ounce and a quarter, ounce and an eighth, excuse me, number 4, just a Winchester Super X. Yeah, she tossed that one out. Let's do a couple more soft loads here. Let's do 4 more of these promotional Winchesters. Didn't like that. Yeah, didn't like these. Yep, not a fan. Yep. So hit or miss on these Winchesters. Seems to be that the 1200 foot per second is probably going to be your general rule. The manual says an ounce and an eighth, but with a gas-operated shotgun, you're not looking at the weight of the shot shell cartridge. You're looking at its velocity to try and get a better idea of the gas volume. So it's really not dependent upon the weight of the payload. It's more dependent upon the powder being used and the gas volume that's being produced. So not quite enough to get it done with these Winchesters. Try it again. Flinched pretty bad there. Alright, enough to kick it out, but not enough to lock it back. So inconsistent cycling there. Probably more so a problem with the ammunition and the low gas volume than anything else. And with that said, let's take a look at some old Federal 7.5 shot then. Same kind of thing. These are a 3 dram loads, what they're labeled as. Got the low tin bases. And we should be able to get this to cycle, should. These usually run about 1200 foot per second box velocity, so we'll see if it'll do it. Yeah, much better. That little bit extra powder burn, that little bit extra gas volume is definitely going to help this guy out. All right, what else we got? We've got some Federal 1 ounce number 6. There's some more of that steel shot load. Heavy field. Very nice. All right, let's see here. Anything we haven't tried yet before I move on to a box? Nope, everything else is pretty much the same. So here's a 2 3/4 inch Fiocchi hunting load. We're just going to do 3 of these. Number 5 ounce and a quarter at 1330. Pretty standard pheasant load. Would be a duck load back in the day of lead being legal for shooting. So let's take a look here. Yep, definitely kicking those guys out. All right, 1 3/8 Federal upland load. Their wing shock. So this is a pretty spicy load, guys. This is a 1500 foot per second 1 3/8. Crazy velocity for a lead load. I don't know particularly who needs that velocity to kill a pheasant, but these are pretty nasty little loads. Definitely flinching because this thing punches a little bit. Let's take a look here. Oh yeah. That is loud. That's got a lot of fire coming out of there. That was nice. All right, we're gonna set those aside. Let's see here. Okay, these are some big guys right here. So this is a Fiocchi 1 3/4 at 1330 feet per second. Typically, a rating like that would garner it being a turkey load, or considered one at least. And this is actually marketed as a hunting load, so more of a pheasant load. There are guys who use this, and if nothing else, it's just a lot of fun. I've only got 1 more full box of this, and I'm going to try and not chew up too much of this. But let's take a look. Should cycle these just fine. These are brutal, though. Oh, ow! Oh, that's life-changing. All right, I'm going to pick my head up off the stock here. You know what? We're going to hold it from down here. I'd say those work. Woof. Now, I've got a good amount of buckshot, but I'm only going to run 3 rounds for you guys here today. And unfortunately, I'm not pattern testing, but we're just going to try it. This Code Black, or not Code Black, sorry, this Pattern Master, not exactly the best choke for buckshot patterns anyways. But this is an older load made by Fiocchi, kind of a Walmart brand load, Suprema. It's just bare 9-pellet buckshot, double-aught, about 1 1/8 ounce, 1 1/5 ounce. Not a really high velocity load, not a low velocity load, just a solid double-aught buckshot load. I'm going to shoot it from the hip here, since my life was altered by those Fiocchi loads, and we're just going to see if it'll cycle. And that it did. Pattern looked pretty good on the ground downrange too. So there's that. Let's see, now that we've run a good number of these loads through, let's see if these Winchesters will start to agree with us. God, I am flinching something terrible with this gun, I tell you what. That's the second time it's done that in the last round. Yep. So still doesn't like those, but probably the standard Federal loads will agree with it. All right, well, there's some first shots there. Definitely some Brutal Recoil. I've never shot the Benelli M4, handled plenty of them, never shot them, so I can't say that how it compares. Definitely seems to be fairly reliable. Doesn't like those low brass loads, but everything else it's chewing up. Barrel's definitely hot. That 18.5 inch barrel is not a friend if you are shy to muzzle blast and noise, but it definitely feels pretty handy, and it feels like something I would want to take into the deer woods, or maybe even after a turkey this spring. I don't know, I like it, other than the crooked sight issue, which we'll see if Charles Daly will fix for me, but I like it. It's not losing this EOTech at all. It's a big heavy optic, but it seems like it's throwing a good pattern with this pattern master, and I don't know. Thumbs up so far. Not too terrible for 550 bucks.
All right, guys, well, we're gonna load this guy up and start just plinking with it. This is just a bunch of steel and lead and whatever loads I had in a box, just kind of missing their home from seasons worth of stuff. But we're gonna ghost load this guy, and it only wants to take 4 of those 3-inchers. So we're only gonna get 6 shots out of this run. I get this guy in the chamber. Put that guy right there. Let that run forward and see if I can remember how to ghost load. I haven't done this in a very long time because I haven't had a gun that I really ghost loaded. There we go. Okay, so we ghost loaded just like a Benelli M4, just like a Super 90 series typically. All right, so 6 rounds of 3-inch. Let's see, these are Rio number 4. It's that royal blue steel, 1400 foot per second. Kind of brutal in this gun. And excuse the range trash, that we are at a public range, and people don't know how to take care of things, and this is why we don't have nice things. But let's see if we can help clean up. Right there, hang up. Failure to feed. Okay. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. There's a Winchester going in, another steel shot load, another Rio, another Rio, another Rio, another Winchester. I didn't quite want to get my 4th guy in there. All right, she made it. All right, let's shoot from the hip. Failure to feed again. Oh, failure to eject and extract. Very interesting. A little bit frosty on the brass. Might mean we have a rough chamber. Let's last round here. All right. Here's a 2 3/4 inch. Oh, she's not going home in the battery. I'm pressing the release button. Nothing. Nothing. Uh-oh. We got a locked up gun, guys. Shovel a couple more in her. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. Another 6. Another Winchester steel load. All right, we're topped off here. Okay, she loaded. Top that off. Let's see. Failure to feed. It's like she's got no spring tension. Same thing. Failure to eject. Failure to eject. Apparently this has become a bolt action. That's great. Yeah. Failure to eject. And the bolt's stuck back once again. All right, I think we've killed it. Definitely not okay. Feels like a bound spring. Feels like we had to, actually, we might have had the spring fail. If you watch how sluggish this is. All right, I'm going to take this back to the bench and see if there's something in the action hanging it up, but I think she's a little dead.
Well, after checking it out at the bench real quick, the action seemed to slick up before I even did anything to it or put any oil in it, so I decided to give it one last try before I gave it for the evening. And it ran those three just fine, but I could feel it was sluggish. The expression on my face says it all. And we're right back to malfunction central before the first shell can even make it into the chamber here. Getting very frustrated. And right now, we see a perfect example of failure to extract, failure to eject. And the bolt lock's open. Won't release. Having to force it home. Yeah. Perfect. Same thing again. At this point, I'm going to let the video speak for itself, but I remember resisting the urge to throw it in the range mud puddle and leave it there. So I did want to make one final note before we move on to the next section. I'll show you what happened with the gun. Is that I fired a single round off camera, and that was a Winchester 3-inch, 1-ounce, 1,600 some odd foot per second slug. I was going to try and fire 3 of them at 50 yards to see what kind of group I could print, but the first shot locked up the gun so bad with live ammunition in it, I had to strip it completely apart and then beat the bolt out of the gun via one of the range tables. So that was real encouraging.
Well, there isn't a lot of value in that now, is there? All right, guys, so I pulled it apart, and I was finally able to get it apart. I don't know the exact round count, but I don't believe we're much over 75 rounds, 75 shells. So, discovered what the problem is. It does seem that the action spring is okay. It's got some binding in there. It feels like it's material, but what really happened, especially after the last couple of shells, is the gun really locked up. And if you can see on in here, if I can get some light, you see all that silver? Well, that is the left bolt rail track, and that's galling. We can see some right there. So let's take a look at our bolt. Oh, would you look at that? She's peened over. Well, that would probably explain why our bolt rail track is completely galled up and why there was metal shaving all over the receiver. So you can see there's some shavings right here. Okay, so left side, there's a mark from our piston. Okay, cool. Bolt looks fine. Bolt's functioning fine. We don't have any other marks on our bolt, but this is soft somehow. Well, let's go to our barrel and look at our pistons. Okay, here's the right and left piston. We'll orient them properly. Oh, look at that. We've got some peening on the piston. And this one's fine, but that one's all effed up. Well, guys, I don't know why, but I keep getting lemons, and apparently what I was hopeful for, a fun range toy at minimum and maybe an incredible value at maximum here for $550, turns out to have been an entire waste of my freaking money. Because, okay, fit and finish issues. All right, our front sight block is slightly off kilter. Whatever, that shit happens from time to time. Our handguards are of good quality, although this is kind of a cheap stock. It's got, I mean, it works. It's solid. The gun feels solid when you put it together. Magazine tube springs of a proper tension. The milling on the receiver is fine. I mean, they even went so far as to replicate and completely copy perfectly the retention of the cross pin for your trigger guard, for your trigger pack and lifter system. So they got all that right. And here we are with the bolt carrier. And it's soft. At least soft on one side somehow. I don't know how you get an uneven heat treat. Or, more likely, now that I think about it, we've got a piston that is too hard. But why is it peening over if it's too hard? Is it a combination of the two? I don't know. But frankly, it's bullshit. And I literally just bought this yesterday. I walked out of the gun shop yesterday with this thing. And it hasn't even made it to 100 shells. And it's completely, pardon my French, fucked. And I'm a little bit pissed off because I'm a little bit sick of buying products that are, whether they're supposed to be good or halfway decent and be fun, whatever it may be, and getting this shit. So guys, don't buy the X01 DPS or whatever the hell they call it. What is it? Yeah, DPS. The Turks may know how to make a frickin' gun, but apparently you can't pay them $500 to make a Benelli copy. Oh, and here's another beauty right there. Look at this. So that's where the EOTech was sitting. Now this is a polymer rail, and it's not even made out of high enough quality polymer that it will resist a 12-ounce optic being ran on it. So it's crushing these teeth here, this Picatinny teeth. And it's not even fucking straight. I wasted $550 on this thing. Because right now, I can tell you what, Chiappa needs to, or Charles Daly needs to give me a new barrel. Because this thing's crooked. And apparently I need new pistons and a new bolt carrier group. And I'm not even upset that I'm throwing this thing around. I'm pissed. I am pissed. All I can say is they better make this right. And hell, I mean, I was willing to live with that for $550. Like, you know, I mean, it'll be all right. I'll ask them for a new barrel and swap it with them or whatever, but maybe it'll be okay. I was okay with the sight rail being a little bit wonky. Just a little bit. I mean, it's a $550 Benelli M4 copy. I can't have the world. I know my Stoker's of better quality than this. But for shit's sake, this is unacceptable. This is the kind of tier crap that you expect out of a $200 Chinese shotgun or some shit like that. Not $550. They're asking $649.99 MSRP for this thing. Is what it is, guys. Definitely wasn't worthy of wearing the fucking EOTech. I can tell you that. I'm pissed.
Well, guys, I really hate putting out this kind of a video, but I feel it's necessary to honestly review and share my experiences with you guys. One, because that's the kind of integrity I have, and that's the relationship I have with you as my viewers. And two, because honestly, I just want to keep you guys away from a bum product. And Charles Daly is marketing this as a defensive shotgun. This isn't some sort of a range toy or anything. This is being marketed as a defensive shotgun, and that's how they're listing it in their catalog. So it's definitely not worthy of that class, and there's not a lot of information out there as of April 2021 on this shotgun. There's only a couple of videos, and nobody's really done a deep dive, and unfortunately I can't, because the gun can't even survive the first 100 rounds. So it is what it is, guys, but I just want to make sure I shared this experience with you. I have reached out to Chiappa, who owns Charles Daly, and I have no response from them as of April 5th, 2021. Apparently, they've turned off their phone lines for the public to be able to call them for service issues. So if you do call that warranty number, you will get a prompt to press 1. You press 1, and it disconnects you after about a few seconds. So apparently, they don't care to talk to their customers. We'll see if they care to respond to my detailed email with pictures that you are seeing here. So, as always, guys, I'll keep you abreast of everything happens here with these guns and my experience with them. But as always, God bless, keep your powder dry. I'll see you in the next video.